Hi there and good morning. We should be live with today's session. My name is Madison Miller and I'm the marketing coordinator here at the Business Software Center. Today's presentation will be on remote working mistakes, mental health edition. Now, if you've caught me before, we have gone over remote working mistakes in the past. This was inspired by the big shift to remote working back in March with the lockdown. So we were able to provide tips and tricks on how to avoid those remote working mistakes. Well, since October has the Mental Health Awareness Day, which is October 10th, we decided to make this presentation specifically about mental health and how you can avoid some remote working issues with your mental health and help enhance any wellness that you may have with your business or with individual employees. So if you're interested in learning more about remote working and mental health, please feel free to continue joining me in today's session. I just wanted to announce that if you would like to follow us on social media, please do so using the hashtag CoffeeTalkTBSC. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So if you use this hashtag, you can provide me feedback, you can ask questions, and we will be able to interact with you. Likewise, you're more than welcome to email us any questions. I know I have sales at Business Software Center at the bottom, but we do have another email called info@Business Software Center, and that's essentially for any information that you may need from me. I can certainly get it back to you. So starting off here, as I mentioned before, there was the push for remote work back in March. This was with the UK in the lockdown going on with the UK. I know a lot of countries either locked down slightly before or slightly after, but essentially there was a giant push for remote work because of the lockdown. So many businesses have made the switch to working from home, with some planning to work home permanently. So based off of the research I've been doing, it seems that remote work is here to stay. And BBC here did some research as well, and it says about 55% of employers said they expect staff to work from home at least one day a week after concerns about the virus passes. So I definitely see this in the trajectory here for remote working. Not only is it safer as far as employee health, but at the same time, everyone is seeing the benefits of remote working, whether it's environmental benefits such as CO2 emissions or mental health benefits. There are various benefits to working from home. Now, according to remote workers, what is the biggest difference they see when working remotely? So this information was pulled back in 2019, and I am sure that there is updated information available, but for the purposes of this presentation, it's okay. We'll just stick to this report here, specifically on remote work. And it seems that remote workers really enjoy the flexible schedule that remote working gives them. So a flexible schedule would mean, say for instance, they need to take their kids to school, take their kids to daycare. They might be able to adapt their remote working hours around their responsibilities, their family life, different appointments, etc. So it's really nice to be able to remote work because it takes away the hassle of having to travel to and from work and factoring in that time. You can use your time a little bit more wisely. Now, 30% of employees say that the biggest benefit is working from any location. So for instance, say that you live in a smaller apartment, perhaps you like going to the library or a local cafe to focus and get your job done. It's nice because remote working really gives you the ability to work anywhere. If you're really busy and you're on the train a lot, you can even work on the train. You know, trains offer Wi-Fi nowadays. So the remote working option is really nice, especially for those who tend to travel a lot or just like a change of scenery. Now, 14% of employees also really enjoy the benefit of time with family. You know, as I mentioned before, with the flexible schedule, this kind of goes hand in hand with that. You get more time with the family because you aren't commuting to and from. You can wake up with the family in the morning, have breakfast, have family time during lunch, and then of course you're still home for dinner, so everyone can get together then as well. So there are a lot of benefits to working remotely. Now, what is your biggest struggle with working remotely? So this report is an updated report from 2020, and this report was done towards the beginning of lockdown. So I'm sure that these numbers have changed slightly because there are different things in place to help with the struggles of remote work, which I will get into. So here you can see 20% of employees have struggles with collaboration and communication, and another 20% have seen loneliness impacting their working. Now, of course, there's other factors as well, not being able to unplug, distractions at home, being in a different time zone, staying motivated, taking vacation time. Well, this one's a really funny one, especially because of lockdown situations. So many of us who have had holidays planned can't really go. So it's more of like a staycation where you just stay at home rather than going out. Another issue is finding reliable Wi-Fi. You know, this one is, I'm surprised it's only at 3% because having reliable Wi-Fi can really impact your work performance. If you don't have a strong internet connection, it will impact the upload and download speeds, your connection to Teams. It really will impact your ability to communicate. And of course, we have 5%, which is other here, and that can be for other various reasons. I did want to mention that if you have any questions, please drop them on the right-hand side with the Q&A. I will get to them throughout the presentation here, so please feel free to ask questions. I'm not sure, maybe mental health and remote work is new to you, so feel free to ask anything that comes during this presentation, and I'll be sure to get your answers to you. So I hope that this was able to give you a better understanding of different struggles that there is with remote work. So it seems that based off of these two areas of research, there are pros and cons to remote working. But today, of course, I want to focus on the mental health aspect, which would be, you know, the loneliness we touched on earlier, the poor communication strategies, etc. So I did some research, and from Nuffield Health, they say 80% of Brits feel working from home has a negative impact on their mental health. And this is from a recent study that Nuffield has done for us. 25% of these employees say they're finding it difficult to cope with mental challenges of loneliness and isolation from colleagues. So yes, this does correlate a lot with the information I showed earlier about loneliness. As I said, the information I prepared earlier, the previous slide I'll just show you here, this is from March 2020, so it is at the beginning of lockdown, whereas you can start to see this 25%, it's a 5% increase over the last few months. So this is a really big statistic here, is 1 in 5 Brits are working from home. There has been this really large push from the government to work from home if you can, and so 1 in 5 Brits are now working from home, so they're working remotely. And 19% say they feel pressure to look good on video meetings. Now I find that really interesting because you know, you go into the office and you try to look as professional as possible when going to the office. But of course, if you're working from home, you have the comfort and privacy of your home. So I can see this being an issue, especially if you're not used to being in front of the camera. It's always a little bit awkward at first getting used to that. So I would say, as far as advice, which we'll get to in the future, but I'm just going to say it now, you know, if you're a business and you have remote employees, please don't ask them to be on camera all the time. It just puts a lot of pressure on the way they feel about themselves, and it really can impact their mental health in a negative way if you require them to be on camera for each and every meeting. I think this also has to deal with trust. You need to learn how to trust your employees and trust that they are doing the correct job and trust that they are joining these meetings. You know, they don't have to have a great appearance in order to interact with others. And likewise, I did find additional research about different remote employees feeling uncomfortable even sharing their backgrounds of where we're sitting. So thankfully with Microsoft Teams and with Zoom, there is the background option where you can either blur the backgrounds or just create your own little background, you know, either using a company logo or just different images to help reduce that area of stress for employees. So I did just give some advice for you, but moving forward, this is some advice that we were able to come up with for Wellness at Work. So this is what your company can do to help your remote staff. So before I jump into this, I just want to check and see if I have any questions coming my way. I do. I have a question here. It says, how can I protect my mental health when working from home? Well, I'm not sure if I touch exactly on that in this presentation because that is a really large and vast topic that I feel like would deserve its own coffee talk session. But just for the meantime, if you are trying to protect your mental health when working from home, you really need to do things that make you feel better. So for instance, if you are feeling very overwhelmed and your head's starting to hurt a little bit from all the stress, it might be best to take a walk outside. Research does show that interacting with nature or taking walks to clear your head can improve well-being. Of course, there's other strategies to help anxiety as well. But you know, you can learn those strategies. Say, for instance, you can sign up to therapy and learn different strategies on how to cope with your anxiety. It might be easier for some employees to work on themselves rather than address these issues with their business or their employer. And I would say if you're an employer here watching this, definitely try to have an open door policy when it comes to communicating about mental health, especially with employees working remotely. There has been an increase in people having mental health issues, especially those who are already predisposed to it. So I would say, yes, as far as protecting your mental health when working from home, you really need to figure out strategies that work best for you. And this might not happen within a day. You might have to do some trial and errors to figure it out. But there's certainly things you can do, listening to music, just taking a break, closing the laptop for 15 minutes, maybe going to eat, get a snack, calling a loved one, and having a conversation with somebody you're close to. There's a lot of different strategies out there, but as I said, I can certainly make a coffee talk dedicated to this in the future. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back to my presentation. Yes, please feel free to send those questions in if you have any questions for me. So TBSC's advice for wellness at work, I would say the first piece of advice that we have is training. Training is essential in any business, whether you're working remotely or in the office or any which way. You need to have the proper foundations in place to understand the job and know your abilities. You know, before working in the office, I've worked at several different places. I've worked in retail, I've worked in restaurants. And even though these positions came easy to me, it took work for it to come easy to me, if that makes any sense. I needed those trainings in place to ensure I knew how to interact with customers, how to do sales, how to upsell in certain circumstances. These tools that you use to ensure proper training really do matter, because if you slack off in any of those areas, your employees might feel incompetent. Your employees might feel insecure. There might be less productivity because of their constant questioning of their abilities. So I would say definitely have good training in place just to make sure your employees have everything that they need to develop that confidence. And of course, if you have new employees, it does take some time for employees to learn. I think I read it takes within 6 months to a year to be fully immersed in a job role. So, you know, definitely have patience when it comes to training, but at the same time, even if you have older employees that have been with your business for a while, to have continuous training is also important. I would say an example of this would be if you're getting new software. So a lot of businesses are switching from Skype for Business to Microsoft Teams just because Microsoft is phasing out Skype. And with that, Microsoft is offering free training courses. Now, Microsoft offers free training for all of their applications, but for this one, the purposes of this example, a lot of businesses have signed up to these training courses just so their employees get a grasp of what Teams offers. And I think this is absolutely fabulous because Teams is more complex to use than Skype. Some of it is user-friendly and easy, just clicking and allowing it to load kind of thing. But if you have employees that aren't really comfortable with technology, these courses really allow them to get really immersed and fully use the applications that they have on their devices. So I would say regular training and having training on a regular basis, yes, is for sure something that would be needed to help reduce just stress of work, you know. So another piece of advice we have is checking on your employees. Now, with the research I found a survey from Mercer that shows only 15% of companies have made attempts to understand staff needs during the pandemic. And that seems like a really low number considering I work for a company that has been nothing but compassionate about this whole situation with working from home. So it's really weird to me to see that this number is so low, considering my experience is that I have a company who has been making great strides in ensuring the remote work process is going as smoothly as possible and ensuring our mental health is being addressed as well. So 15% really isn't good. Now, of course, I can understand it being a process to come up with different methods and strategies to get the information companies may need. But, you know, a simple email out to everyone saying, hey, if you have any feedback on what we can do to improve remote working, etc. It really doesn't take that much time to compose. And, you know, this could be done through the HR department to ensure privacy. There can be anonymous surveys done, etc. So there really is no excuse in not getting feedback from your employees, especially during such a critical time such as this, where mental health is becoming a serious issue. As I mentioned before, 80% of Brits are noticing impacts on their mental health because of this remote working. So here is another piece of advice that I have is schedule regular reviews. So if you do the survey thing, that's no big deal because that remains anonymous. But say you're a smaller business and you know your employees on a different level, perhaps scheduling regular reviews to catch up with them might be your best option. Now, I'm not saying you have to get up close and personal during these regular reviews, but just, you know, scheduling 15 minutes here and there just to see how they're doing, if they need any help with anything. You don't have to ask them specifically, is your mental health suffering? You can just say, how is it going? Do you need assistance with anything? Are you very busy today, etc. You know, you can certainly help them in other areas to help reduce the amount of stress that they have, whether that's allowing them to take another break a day for 15 minutes or adjusting their work hours to work a little bit later so they can sleep in a bit more, etc. There's really different ways you can check in on your employees that aren't overly confrontational and don't specifically ask those hard questions. You know, are you okay with your mental health? That's a very hard topic to discuss. So another piece of advice is, sorry, I have the numbers wrong. This should be number 3, is to optimize communication. So as I showed you with the 2019 research in remote work, communication and collaboration are really big concerns for remote workers. And that's just because going from an office setting where you're seeing everyone every day, feeling the hustle and bustle, and then working remotely where, you know, you could either have a really busy family life or you're alone in your house. It's a really dramatic change, just not seeing your coworkers every day and kind of feeling the collaborative atmosphere. So different ways you can optimize communication are, of course, using your video calls, chats, emails. As I mentioned before, you don't have to require employees to appear on camera. I mean, you're more than welcome to make this an optional thing. Some people just don't feel comfortable being on camera, and it takes some time. Others have worry and stress that comes along with it. But you can certainly use web conferencing for hangouts and catch-ups to help reduce loneliness. So, of course, our advice would be to use Microsoft Teams, but there are other platforms out there, such as Google or Zoom, that you can use to ensure that video calls take place. But of course, Teams is, I feel like, the head honcho in collaboration and communication, because it includes everything all together. You can even upload files and share files in real time and edit in real time, which I think is fabulous. Okay, so another piece of TBSC advice to help improve wellness at work is to create work groups. Just like any business, teamwork is crucial to getting the job done. So as your team prep for online group collaboration, working in the office hive is very different than being at home. As I mentioned earlier with the examples, the switch can be hard for people. You know, humans are adaptable creatures, but it takes us some time to adapt. And what I mean by that is, once we have behaviors in place, it's really hard to crack those behaviors. It's possible, but it's very hard. So it's just, you know, the phrase creating a new normal, it's essentially that. It's just, you have to get it in your head that things are changing, and with that, there's going to be new opportunities, but also new challenges when it comes to changing work culture and the behavior of your employees. So to get the same energy flow, there are tools you can use to ensure teamwork is fluid for creativity and performance. One of those tools, like I said, would be Microsoft Teams, specifically because you can create work groups using the Teams channels. But even Zoom offers the ability to have workout groups when you're on a video call. For instance, if you have 20 people on a video call, you can break it into work group sessions where, you know, you put 5 people in a room and then you can merge them all together at the end. It's really cool, and I would say give it a shot, especially because, you know, they do provide all these free trials. Microsoft Teams has free trials as well as Zoom. So another piece of advice that we have here is create virtual workspaces, which is essentially what I said just now. Individual work and group work are the way the workplace functions, yet for employees who are not used to working from home, it may be harder to stay on track. So having a workspace effectively and keep them on track. So apply to creating those work groups, but having the virtual workspace is great. And I would say an example of that would be just the interface of Microsoft Teams. You have everything all on one location. So you have all your chats, your calls, you have your calendar, you have your emails, you have your files. Everything is one desktop, one application. So you don't have to keep pulling and going in different locations and, you know, running around to find information or to get your work done. So I would say a healthy virtual workspaces would be good. This is something you could designate perhaps a project manager to do for you, just to see if tasks are being completed in a timely manner. And of course, if they're not, then you can try different avenues on creating healthier virtual workspaces for your employees. I'm trying to think of other examples of virtual workspaces, but honestly, because I use Microsoft Teams, that's really the only example I have at the moment. So after reviewing this list, do you notice that your business may be lacking in some areas? Is your business lacking in communication, collaboration? Is your business contributing to the loneliness factor? Does your business require your employees to be on video calls? These are certain questions you should ask yourself, because it can certainly impact the stress that your employees feel. And these are all easy ways of evaluating your business, and it doesn't really take much effort to fix the situation at hand, especially if you ask for feedback from your employees. Once you get that feedback in any which way, you can certainly develop plans to help them, especially when it comes to training and understanding their job roles and job functions. Perhaps job roles have changed since switching over to remote work. Maybe people have a little bit more to do, maybe they have a little less to do, or maybe they shift just a little bit. I think just establishing what you're looking for and what you have in place to help them achieve the company goals would be really beneficial. So how can you make the change? If you notice that there's a lack of communication, collaboration, if you notice there's an increase in loneliness, if you're getting feedback from your remote employees saying, hey, this just isn't working for me, something's got to give, how can you make the change? Well, I would say try out Microsoft Office 365. I know that this isn't the only solution for you, but this is just a great way to start. Just having the proper foundation for remote work is a great way to start. I'm not sure if those attending are using Microsoft Office 365, but it is a really popular platform. And what I really like is it's constantly updating and changing, because they do request feedback and they actually listen to it. So this new feature that they're launching is the Headspace app. And so Microsoft Office 365 does allow third-party integration. And so they are integrating a Headspace app. Now, if you don't know what Headspace is, it's a popular tool just to help with wellness and mental health through meditation. And so you can put timers on, reminders for when you need to take mental health breaks. You can listen to music to calm down. And so this integrates with your calendar, so it can help remind you, hey, it's time to take a little mini mental health break. Just take a break, step away from the computer for a bit, and come back in 5 minutes. So I really like this new feature that they've added to help reduce mental health issues at the workplace. Now, of course, Microsoft Office 365 is cloud-based, so everything is accessed online through a web URL, and that's where the Wi-Fi comes into a big play here. So I would say if your employees are struggling with a Wi-Fi connection, you should advise them to look into different providers, get faster broadband, even fiber, because not being able to connect can really impact the ability to conduct meetings, join in on team events, and also it creates a lot of stress, because you have to wonder, is my voice being muffled because of my internet connection? Why is it they can't hear me, etc. So I would say Microsoft Teams is the real VIP here, because it offers pretty much everything that you need to get started with remote working, but also it already includes everything that your team is used to using, such as Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint. It includes all of that other stuff with the 365 licensing. So you really get a lot of bang for your buck whenever you sign up for Microsoft 365. And of course, this is a month-to-month subscription, so you can always flex your subscribers up or down, depending on your employee count and your application usage. Now I am coming towards the end of my coffee talk, so I just want to wrap things up here by saying, how can we help? So here at TBSC, we are shifting the focus of our latest product, Smarter SaaS. We noticed that with our product, there has been a definite increase in mental health and wellness at work, just because we provide the cloud management tool, and it's an automatic tool. Now, I did go over in a previous coffee talk about business practice automation and how that can help your business. And that greatly helps your employees, because it reduces the amount of worry and stress when it comes to monitoring software asset management. So essentially what Smarter SaaS can do is it can monitor over 40 plus apps. That includes Adobe, Microsoft, Salesforce, and many others. It is agentless, so we don't have to physically be anywhere to install this. This can all be done online. And you know, we do suggest different areas of training, different areas of improvement. We show you different ways of saving costs. And like I said, this is all automatic, so it can really reduce the amount of stress when it comes to the manual process of everything. So just to reiterate, Smarter SaaS and Wellness, it reduces stress, it improves communication and collaboration, and that is through the usage monitoring features that we have, and then the training suggestions we also have. And yeah, it helps fight off the loneliness, because with the proper training and the proper understanding of how to use these applications you purchased, there will be more usage. And so that will help fight off loneliness and improve communications. So we do have a 14-day free trial of our Smarter SaaS product, which you can find on our website. It comes with everything that you may need, an automatic report and analysis. You can view individual software. Of course, there's cost savings opportunities. There's optimization opportunities, which I talked about earlier. We can track the usage and say, for instance, somebody is using chat on Teams but isn't using video calls. We say, okay, why? Why exactly aren't they using the video? Is it because they're still using Skype? So we switch them over to Teams by providing the training through Microsoft, and you can fully utilize the applications you're paying for. Now, we do offer the compliance reassurance as well, and this is primarily important for those who work in IT and have to track and monitor the auditing. So compliance reassurance is really good because it automates the license agreements, so that way there is no stress and worry when it comes to dealing with any audits that you may have to deal with. So at this time, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us. I don't have any other questions coming in, which is okay. I do want to just mention here that our coffee talks are in the process of changing. So we only have the autumn schedule here on our website. You can go to businesssoftwarecenter.com and you can find our autumn schedule here. Our next two events are 13th November and 27th November, both at 10:30 a.m. as this one is. So feel free to join us. You can sign up through our website, you can sign up through Eventbrite, and we can certainly get you on the mailing list so you get the links for these events. However, we are switching up our coffee talks for the winter, so please stay tuned for our new developments with our coffee talks for the winter series. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions for me, please email me info@businesssoftwarecenter.com or use the hashtag CoffeeTalkTBSC. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.